Now that you understand what records you'll be working with and how you'll be engaging with them, it's important to understand what you'll have access to and how you can influence your own privacy controls. Before we get started, it's worth noting that admins can see everything in Copper, but you can restrict email visibility from other users if needed. Unless otherwise noted, they will see all emails that get synced in, as well as any record that's created and all of the in-app reports. Users may not always be able to see everything. Your administrator may choose to restrict your access to emails, records, and/or report data. This isn't necessarily a bad kind of restriction. Sometimes it's a best practice to only show users the content they need to work on, so non-important content doesn't clutter your workflow. If you can't access certain emails, records, and reports or report data that you know exist in Copper, it's likely due to a visibility restriction. While your administrator will make the high-level decision around what you have access to, there are points at which you get to make some decisions as well. Let's look at what you and your administrator can do to impact visibility in the account. Let's start with email visibility. When an email with one of your contacts syncs to Copper, it will sync privately by default. That means only you and your administrator can see it. Fellow company users cannot. A company user who is CC'd on the email conversation can also see it in this scenario. Your administrator may prefer to let all company users, including you, choose whether they sync their emails publicly or privately by default. Your email setup will also depend on your email client. Copper is optimized for customers who run their business on Google Suite. If you're hosting your company email domain through Gmail, you'll enjoy some efficiency gains and extra features in Copper. You can also use Outlook or any other third-party email client if you'd prefer. Email syncing will work either way, but the process for setting up syncing and visibility permissions is a little different. Your admin will choose whether your Gmail syncs to Copper when they add you as a company user. Most likely, they'll choose to sync your emails in. We already know the default visibility setting for emails syncing into Copper is private, but the admin can choose to set it as a user's choice. We'll see what that setting change looks like in just a moment. Finally, when an email syncs to Copper from Gmail, it'll be added to an existing profile for the contact, either a lead or person record. If there's no lead or person record for that contact, the email sync will generate a suggested contact in your dashboard. Earlier, we saw suggested contacts when you click the home icon. You can then choose to add that suggested contact as a person in Copper. If your admin has allowed you to choose how your emails sync to Copper, you can choose to sync publicly or privately by default. To do this, navigate to Settings, Email Settings, and Templates. You'll check the box for marked sync emails public by default. If your company uses something other than Gmail or Outlook as an email client, you can still sync emails into Copper. The difference is how the sync is activated. With a third-party email client, you have two choices: manually sync specific emails into Copper, or set up an automatic BCC. If you want to manually sync emails into Copper, we provide a special email address you can add to the BCC line of each email. Your admin may choose to take that email address and set up an automatic BCC as well. The rest functions similar to the Gmail sync. The sync is private by default, but administrators can choose to let users make their own choices around visibility. I'll show you where to find the special email address you can use for the manual sync. First, click Settings. Then find Email Settings and Templates and click it. Then select Email Links Open in my default email client. Next, scroll down to the Copper Mailbox section. Notice the custom-generated BCC address. You'll add this address to the BCC line of each email that you want to sync into Copper.